John Ulzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Ulzheimer.
Hey there, this is John Ulzheimer. I am a consumer credit expert. I have spent almost 30 years in the credit industry, spent time at FICO, which is the company behind the FICO credit scoring system, of course, and Equifax, which is one of the three generally recognized credit reporting agencies in the United States. And so today I'm going to answer a question about the impact of Tradelines on a consumer's credit scoring. Specifically, Tradeline is an account that's reported by a lender. So if you look at your credit report, you see your credit card account or your mortgage or your auto loan. Those are generally referred to in the credit industry as Tradelines. So the question specifically is, what is the most valuable aspect of a Tradeline as it pertains to your credit score? That's a very interesting question because the answer to the question is going to vary. It's going to vary based on not me, it's going to be based on you. So for somebody who has a very young credit report, so maybe, only one or two accounts, that are maybe only a year or two old, the most valuable aspect of the trade line could be the date opened. So if you all of a sudden, boom, have an account on your credit report that has a 10 or 15-year-old date opened, relative to a credit report that's fairly young, the date opened may be the most valuable attribute for you because your credit report is going to immediately be older. There's metrics in credit scoring systems that consider the age of accounts. So that's one. Another attribute from a trade line that could be very valuable to you could be the credit limit. There are kind of well-documented metrics in credit scoring systems that reward you for having a large credit limit relative to your balances. And so if you have low balances relative to large credit limits, then it's called your credit utilization or revolving utilization ratio. That ratio is going to be lower, you're going to earn more points for that metric, and your score is going to be higher. So a valuable attribute for you from a trade line could be the fact that it's got a high credit limit. So for you, it doesn't have anything to do with the date open, it has everything to do with the credit limit. Next, what if the account is always paid on time? It's got a fantastic payment history, no late payments, no indication at all in the trade line that the account has ever been mismanaged. If you've got a credit report that may have some previous derogatory information on it, and now all of a sudden you're starting to populate the credit report with accounts that are in good standing and have always been in good standing, obviously that's going to be very valuable to you, and that may be the most valuable aspect or attribute for that particular trade line for you. The interesting thing to keep in mind is that while I think the knee-jerk response to the question, what's the most valuable component of a trade line, the knee-jerk response is probably, the fact that it's in good standing. Well, that's obviously good. The problem is that your credit report and your credit score may be more influenced by things that have nothing to do with on-time payment. So let's say you have a credit report and everything on your credit report is in good standing. You have no derogatory information on your credit report at all. However, your credit score isn't as high as you would like it to be. So I think the perception is, and this is something I always get into an argument with my father about. My father comes from the era that if you paid your bills on time, you have perfect credit. All these other things that credit scoring systems consider were not considered for a variety of reasons, including the fact that we're talking about the 1950s at this point. I think the knee-jerk reaction is that, I pay my bills on time, I must have perfect credit. Well, I think we all know that that's certainly not true. You can have a less than stellar credit score and have never missed a payment. You can have tons of credit card debt. You can have very, very young accounts. You can have tons of accounts with balances. These are all things that are generally going to cause a credit score to be lower, even if you make all of your payments on time. So for you, the most valuable attribute of an account may have nothing to do with the payment history of the account and may be entirely what I would call kind of the extraneous aspects of it. So the date open and the credit limit. Those are all very valuable to the extent that you want to hit a grand slam and have all of the aspects of the trade line be helpful, then the credit limit, the fact that it has no balance maybe, the fact that the balance is very low, the fact that it's an old account, the fact that it's always been paid on time, kind of in aggregate, collectively, those attributes are all going to have different value to you in different components of credit scoring systems, because credit scoring systems consider all of those things. So if you're able to properly manage all of your accounts, then it's going to be very valuable across a spectrum of metrics in credit scoring systems, and not just one aspect of it is going to be important. But from it's the most important category, there certainly are going to be aspects of trade lines that are going to be the most important aspects, but it's all relative to what is keeping your credit score from being higher. So hopefully that helps answer the question. If you have any further questions, drop them in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get to them. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk again soon.
For more videos and credit tips from John Ulzheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.